Hello everyone, good vach, blessed week. Today we're learning about Mציעא Daf Hayomi. It says the Gemara 4 lines down, Gneva v'aveda b'shoyel minola. So in the parasha, the third parasha of Shoyimrim, that's talking about someone who's a borrower, it says that if it gets broken or dead, he has to pay. But it doesn't say what happens if it gets stolen or lost. So we know by Shemesocha is Chai for Gneva v'aveda, but we don't know about Shoyel. It says that more Gneva v'aveda b'shoyel minola. That if already a shoyel's chayiv, if something dies or breaks, so for sure be chayiv for less of a oinus, something that's less expected, that's more in control, like gneva v'aveda, for sure should be chayiv. No, so that more malish v'urmei, so the loy efshal lemitrach v'asuye. Toima b'gneva v'aveda the efshal lemitrach v'asuye. Maybe for if it breaks or dies, you have to pay because it's unfixable. But if it's lost or stolen, that you could still get it back, maybe you don't need to pay. Let the owner go find the ganev, go find the aveda, and you know chayev. Tzedek mor elohok elo kihodetanya. We learn it from the brisa that says the brisa v'nishbar imeis, it broke or died. Only elo. The brisa says only elo shvur imeis. I know that the shoyel's chayev if it breaks or dies. Gneva v'aveda minayin. The brisa asked the shaila, how do you know that it's chayev for gneva v'aveda? Omris kalvachoyim, we have a kalvachoyim. Umashu nesocho. Shepotu mushvur meisa. He's potter if it breaks or dies. Chayev b'gneva v'aveda, and it says befurish by shemesocho that he's chayev b'gneva v'aveda. Shoyel shechayev b'shvur meisa that he's chayev for ointzim ein edina the no more so kalvachoyim shechayev b'gneva v'aveda. So we learn it from a kalvachoyim from shemesocho. Shemesocho is more kolodik and he chayev b'gneva v'aveda. So for sure, is chayev b'gneva v'aveda. Continues the brisa v'zeu kal v'choyma she'ein lov tshuva, and this kal v'choyma there's nothing to say about it. Tzedek mor my ein lov tshuva. It's mashma that you have something to say that this kal v'choyma is not good, but what you're going to say is not good. Why is there something that you have a minute to say that we're saying it's not good tshuva? V'chitei ma ikele mifrach ma l'shem mesocho shekein mishalem tashlumi kefel b'toin tanas listim zuyim. So says the Gemara, I'll tell you what the hava mean. I might have thought that you could tell me Shemesocha is more chomodik than Shoel. What did we say? Shemesocha is kolodik. Sorry, it's kolodik because it's potter for shvur meisa. No, Shemesocha is more chomodik. Why? Because Shemesocha could pay tashlumi kefel. In what case? When he tiny there was listed mezuyim, there was a ganev with a gun, and at the end we found it that he was a ganev, so he has to pay kefel the Shemesocha. And a Shoel, if he said if it was a ganev, he has to pay. So a shoyel has to pay if he said it's a ganev, any type of ganev, and therefore he doesn't pater himself, he doesn't pay kefil, and therefore l'chor shemesocha is more chorodik. And that the Gemara says, afilu ocher karim the shoyel adifa, that the shoyel pays straight away is more chorodik than paying kefil, not paying at the beginning and afterwards paying kefil if you stole it, and therefore shoyel is more chomrodik, and therefore you can learn the kal v'choyma and there's nothing to ask on it. Yiboy say another reason why you can't ask this kasha, kosova listim mezuyim gazlenu. You don't have a kasha because what's the whole kasha that maybe shemesocha is more chomrodik? You could see that the case where shemesocha pays kefil where shoyel doesn't pay kefil. It's not true, because the whole reason why shemesocha should pay kefil, the whole chiddush of the Torah that toin tanas ganev is chayav kefil if it's toin tanas ganev, but this shitta, this brisa holds that listim mezuyim, because he's with a gun, he's not called a ganev, he's called a gazlan, a robber. And a robber, if you tiny that was a robber, even if you stole it yourself, you know chayav kefil. The whole chiddush of the Torah that you chayav kefil or shoyim is if you tiny gneva, and you're not tiny gneva, and therefore you know chayav kefil, and therefore there's nothing that shemesocha is more chromodik than a shoyel, and therefore you can learn this kal v'choyma. So now we know how we know gneva aveda by shoyel that is chayav. You learn kal v'choyma from shemesocha. Tzedek more ashkechon lechiyuv. That's very good. I know that he's chayav if gneva aveda happened. Leptur. How do I know that ba'al of imoy, the special chiddush of the Torah, that ba'al of imoy is potter for oinus, that ptur is also for gneva aveda? How do you know it? Let's learn it from shvur meisa, and we're going to say, if like shvur meisa, If it's Baal Avimo, you potter, so also Gneva Aveda, Baal Avimo is potter. So the Gemara, no. Mala Shvur Mesa Shekein Oines. You know why you potter by Baal Avimo, by Shvur Mesa? Because it's Oines. The Torah's Mechadish is Chiddish. That Baal Avimo is potter only for something that's not in your control. When it's Oines that happened, that's something that's not Oines, that's more negligence, Gneva Aveda. There's no Ptur Baal Avimo. Says the Gemara, Elo Gomer Mishel Misocha. We learn from Shel Misocha. Like Shel Misocha is potter for Gneva Aveda with Baal Avimo, also Shoyel. Says the Gemara, Shel Misocha Gufim Minol. And how do we know that Shel Misocha is potter? Says the Gemara, Gamri, Chiyuv de Shel Misocha, Nichiyuv de Shoyel. We learn the Chiyuvim of Shel Misocha from Chiyuvim de Shoyel. Man la halon, like by Shoyel, bebailim potter, you potter by Oines if it was bebailim. Afkan also by Shel Misocha, bebailim potter. Says the Gemara, b'may goman, what type of learning are you learning it? Motzinu means like we find over there the Yichayev, and you potter with Baal Avimoy. So also here, when Yichayev, you potter with Baal Avimoy. Ikele Mifrach, you could ask a kasha and say the Parchina, like we just said before, Shekein Oines. Maybe by Shoyel, you potter by Baal Avimoy because the whole chiyuv is Oines, that you couldn't do anything. Therefore, with Baal Avimoy potter, but by Shel Misocha, that the chiyuv is more of a negligent of Gneva Aveda, with Baal of you not potter. So the Gemara, I'll tell you how we know Shel Misocha from Shoyel. It says V'chi Ishal. The three parshas, first one Shel Mechinom, second one Shel Misocha, and the third one by Shoyel. And by the third one of Shoyel, the pasuk starts, the parsha starts V'chi Ishal with a vav. What did the vav tell me? Vav Moisif Aleni Rishon. It's coming to connect between the parshas. The Ilmad Elyon Mitachto in the parsha on top of it Shel Misocha is gelearned from the parsha of Shoyel. Like Shoyel, you potter by Baal Avimoy, also by Shel Misocha, you potter by Baal Avimoy. Ask the Gemara, Vakati, Shel Misocha le Gomer. Okay, so now we know that Shel Misocha by Baal Avimoy is the vav coming to tell you that Shel Misocha by Baal Avimoy is potter by Gneva Aveda. But how are we going to learn Shoyel from Shel Misocha? Why? Because you could still ask the Ikele Mifrach Mala Shel Misocha, she came potter by Shvur Mesa. How could we learn from Shoyel that you potter for Gneva Aveda by Baal Avimoy from Shel Misocha? Shel Misocha is more politic. It's potter ba'intzim. It's a special din over there. But Shoyel that's chai ba'intzim. So by Baal Avimoy you're not potter by Gneva Aveda. Toima b'Shoyel shechai b'Shvur Mesa. That's more chormadik than chai ba'intzim. So the Gemara Elo Gneva Aveda b'Shoyel chiyuv minola. Where did we learn b'chlal that Shoyel is chai for Gneva Aveda? We just said before, like the Bryce at the Goma Mishel Misocha from Kal V'choima. And when you have a Kal V'choima, you say Dayo Lovoy Minadin Lios Kanidoy, meaning Dayo means it's enough to learn whatever you're learning from the Kuladik place. What does Kal V'choima mean? You have something easy, you have something heavy. We say if the easy one has this din, for sure the heavy one has that din. But in that, when you do a Kal V'choima, you say Dayo, it's enough. Because you're learning your whole din from the light place, so the dinim apply like the light place. The same dinim, and therefore, Magneva Aveda the Shel Misocha, they normally chayev. If it's bebailim, your potter, after Gneva Aveda the Shoyel, are we learning from Shel Misocha? Nami bebailim potter, because Dayo Loboy Minadin, Yois Kanidoy. Said the Gemara, Honicho, that's very good. Lemande Isli Dayo, Lefi the Shitta who says you say Dayo in a Kal V'choima. Ela lemande lesli dayo lefi the shitta who's apart from the chayra, who says you don't say dayo and you say the full Kal V'choima, even you learn extra dinim that don't apply in the koladik one. Ma'ikele meima, how do we know that Gneva Aveda b'Shoyel is potter b'bailim? The Gemara lamakro, what we said before, but we're adding on v'chi ishal. It says the pasuk beginning of the parsha of Sheila v'chi ishal the vav moisif al inyan rishon. And the Vav is coming to connect these two parshas to tell me that we learn the dinim of Shoyel of Baal Avimoy to Shel Misocha, and we learn the dinim of Shel Misocha to Shoyel. And on that you can't ask me, oh, Shel Misocha is kuladik, not kuladik, because the Vav says these parshas are connected. And therefore, like by Shel Misocha, Yichayev b'Gneva Aveda b'Yupota b'Bailim, so also Shoyel Yichayev b'Gneva Aveda, Yupota b'Bailim, and therefore that's how we know that Gneva Aveda by Shoyel is chayev, and we know that Gneva Aveda by Shoyel b'Bailim is potter. Now the Gemara is going to say a machloikis. What's the din if we said b'Baal Avimoy you potter from ointzim, you potter from Gneva Aveda? What's the din by pshia? You also potter or not? So the Gemara we learned pshia b'Bailim. What the din? You have a pshia negligence, and the bailim was there b'shas sheila. Pligi Bor Avachar Ravina. Chado Ma Chayev, one said Yichayev, Chado Ma Potter. The Gemara is going to explain what the Machlokes. Mando Ma Chayev, Kosova Mikra Nidrosh Lefono Velo Lifnei Fono. There are three parshas. The first parsha is Shemechino, the second parsha is Shemesocha, and the third parsha is Shoyel. And the third Shaila of parsha, it has a vav at the beginning of the parsha to connect it to the parsha in front of it. That means it connects it to Shemechino. So he says it connects it to Shemesocha. Connects it to Shemesocha, but not to Shemechino. You connect the last parsha to the middle parsha, but the first parsha that's talking about Pshia is not connected. Hilkach in Baal of Imoy, that says in the parsha of Shoyel, Shemechino lo Ksiv. It doesn't talk about Shemechino. And therefore, Pshia nami b'Shemesocha or b'Shoyel lo Ksiv. Doesn't say b'chlal in the parsha of Shemesocha and Shoyel what's the din of Pshia. Hilkach b'Shemesocha b'Shoyel lechiyuv. How do we know that the Shemesocha is chayiv b'Pshia? How do we know that Shoyel is chayiv b'Pshia? Yilimit b'Kal v'choyim m'Shemechino. We say if already Shemechino was not getting paid, he's chayiv b'Pshia and he's potter for gneva aveda. For sure, somewhere where you chayiv for gneva aveda, for sure you'll be chayiv b'Pshia. So that's the way we know that Shemesocha and the Shoyel is chayiv by Pshia. But b'Bailim the special chiddush of the Torah that the Torah tells you by Shoyel that he's potter. After Shemesocha v'Shoyel lo, you don't know that it's potter b'Bailim, and the din is you're not potter b'Bailim. A Shoyel or Shemesocha b'Bailim is chayiv b'Pshia. My kaina kiksiv in Baal of Imoy, when it says the pasuk by Shoyel, if the Bailim are with him lo yeshalem, a Shoyel v'Shemesocha is only going in those two parashas because one of them it says it clearly in it, and the other one vav moisif. And ahana chiyuv v'dichsibu, and it's only going on what says in it clear. Anu chiyuv v'dichsibu behedi, what says in it clear, gneva v'aveda and oinsin, hu de michtav. But about Pshia, that doesn't say it even clearly in those parshas. No, it's not talking about and Pshia, ben Shemechinom, ben Shemesocha, ben Shoyel b'Bailim is chayev b'Pshia. That's shitta number one. Mando ma potter, the shitta will hold that even by Pshia b'Bailim your potter, kosava mikra nidrosh lefono v'lufnei fono. The posuk is coming to tell you in the whole thing. Says Rashi, Besmichus ha-parashas, because the parashas are written next to each other, but afal pi she'en ekesh mefurish ben, even though that there's no vav in the second parasha of Shemesocha, we're still in the din of Baal of Imoy on all the parashas because they're written one next to each other, and therefore the Torah of Baal of Imoy goes also on Pshia. Baal of Imoy, it's going also Asher Mechinam Namiksiv. Full stop. So we have here Machlokes, is Pshia b'Bailim chayev or potter? So now the Gemara is going to try to bring rayas to prove it from Mishnayos and Braisos. Says the Gemara, it says in our Mishnah, Shol Sapor, someone borrowed the cow, V'shol Baalei Imon, together with the cow, he borrowed the owner. Or Shol Sapor, he borrowed the cow, V'sochar Baalei Imon, he rented the owner, he paid him money to work for him. Not another case, Shol Baalei, first he borrowed the owner to help him, or he paid the money to help him, and only afterwards he borrowed the cow. All these cases, the owner was together with the shoyer. The din is umeisa potter because Baal of Imoy you're potter. The ilu shemechino lo iktoni doesn't say in the Mishnah that shemechino. Why did they use shoyer and not shemechino? It must be that because we don't want to say Shemechinum because the din of Baal of Imoy is dafka by Shoyel, not by Shemechinum. So we can see that Pshia is chayev afilu be Baal of Imoy. It's a kasha to Maldom says it's potter. Says the Gemara letameich lefi your shita that you hold that Baal of Imoy doesn't pater for Pshia Shemesocha miktoni. But you agree that Shemesocha is potter b'gneva v'aveda like we learned before. Is potter b'gneva v'aveda b'Bailim. And why did they not say now Mishnah the din of Shemesocha b'Bailim is potter for gneva v'aveda? What are you going to tell me about that? Elo, it must be Tone Milsa diktiva behetia omud beis. That means the Mishnah is only telling you stuff that are written in the Torah. Where did the Torah clearly write the Torah Baal of Imoy? By Shoyel, by Oinsim. So there the Mishnah also uses a case of Shoyel. Tony, das im drasha like Tony. Whatever's learned from a drasha for Shemesocha that is potter from Vav Moisif that everyone agree with, the Mishnah doesn't tell you because it's not clearly in the Torah. But the Mandama holds that even Pshia, he says also Pshia is potter, and the Mishnah doesn't tell you for the same reason. Like you must tell me that the reason why the Mishnah didn't speak by Shem Esacha, because the Mishnah wants to talk about what it says clearly in the Torah by Shoyel, and that's why we're not talking about Shem Esacha. So I'll tell you the same. The reason why we're not talking about Shem Echinam, because that doesn't say clearly in the Pasuk, and that's why we only talk about what's clear in the Pasuk, Shoyel, and therefore you don't have no raya from the Mishnah. Toshma, come and listen. Shalom, he borrowed the cow, Vishal Ba'aleimo, and he borrowed the owner together, Tzochro, he rented the cow. Here this Brisa talks about renting the cow, V'socha Ba'aleimo, and he rented the owner with it, Shalo, or he borrowed the cow, V'socha Ba'aleimo, and he rented the owner with it, or Sochro, he rented the cow, Vishal Ba'aleimo, and he borrowed the owner with it, Imo, even though that the owner is doing their work with somewhere else, they know in the same place over here, Umeisa, and the cow died, potter, because Baalavimo, you potter. So now we want to bring a riot here. Savuro, we fought, Homoni, who is this price? Or Rabbi Yehuda, the Omar Soicha Kishon Mesocha Domi, that he holds a Soicha, a renter, is like a Shem Esacha that's Chayef Agneva Vaveda, and his potter, and he's like, he's Chayef Pshia and he's Chayef Agneva Vaveda. But not like the other shit who hold is like a Shem Echinam who's potter for Agneva Vaveda. So we thought the Rabbi Yehuda is a Balat Brisa, and he holds Soicha rent is like a Shem Esacha. Vaha, a Haitana in this Brisa, Ktoni Milsadasi Drosha. We are talking about, we're not like the Mishnah, we are talking about something that comes from the Drosha. Why? Because we're talking about Soicha, and a Soicha doesn't say clearly the Ptur in the Torah of a Soicha from Potter Bebailim. We learn it from a Drosha, and this Brisa is talking about Drosha. It doesn't say Shem Echinam, why not? Because it must be that Be'olavimo is not Ptur by Shem Echinam, it's only a Ptur by Gneva V'Aveda. So we have a kasha on the Shita who hold that Pshia Bebailim is Potter. Said the Gemara, no, how money, you know who this Baritz is? It's Ramehi. And therefore, since a Soicha renter has the din like Kishem Echinam, there is only Chayiv for Pshia and his potter for Gneva Aveda. And it's telling the Mishnah in this Brisa that Soicha is potter bebailim. So the opposite, they have a raya that the Brisa says that you potter bepshia beba'alavimoi, because the Brisa is Rameh. That you only chayiv b'pshia, and afilu it says that you potter b'ba'alavimoi by a soicha. So it must be pshia is also potter b'bailim. And obviously the shittu doesn't agree with that. He'll say it's Rabbi Yehuda. V'tona, and it says in the Brisa Shem Echinam. And why didn't the Brisa talk about Shem Esacha? Because the Brisa tells you Shem Echinam that he's only chayiv by pshia. He's potter b'bailim. And obviously the Shem Esacha that he's potter also b'gneva aveda b'bailim. And Ibo is saying another teretz, if you want to fit that this Brisa fits in specifically like Rabbi Yehuda for some reason, I can fit it in like Rabbi Yehuda, and I'll tell you how. Because Rabbi Baravro changes the shittas from Rabbi Yehuda, and Rabbi Yehuda is the one who holds Soicha, if you're Rabbi Baravro, that Soicha is like a Shem Echinam. So I can stay the Brisa that's Rabbi Yehuda, but it's Rabbi Yehuda, if you're Rabbi Baravro, who holds the Soicha is like a Shem Echinam. But Tony, what does Rabbi Avrol is? Soicha keitza mishalim. What's the din of a soicha? Rabbi Yehuda kishem esacha. Rabbi Yehuda kishem esacha. Opposite, and therefore the Brisa still stays Rabbi Yehuda if you want. If you don't want to put in like Rameh, and Rabbi Yehuda is the one who holds that soicha is like neva, is like a shem echinam, and therefore it says clear in the Brisa it's part of neva aveda. It's not cash on me. So we do have a raya, not this direction, not this direction. Now we're going to learn a new din. Amar Rav Nuna, lo ila muchayev. You always, a shoyer will be chayev at shetehi kor v'chorish bo chamer v'chamer achareh. That means you need that the owner should be there. Also b'shas, he should be at the job site when the animal died. If the owner's doing another job for me and the animal died in the field, so there's no p'tor ba'alavimoi. They add and another condition, bailing that the owner should be with the shoyer misha sheila from the beginning when he borrowed the cow, and he'll be working all the time until when the breaking or the dying happen, and only then we'll say ba'alavimoi is potter. So the Gemara Alma Kosova, you can see the Rav Nuna held that ba'alavimoi, when it says in the Torah ba'alavimoi lo yeshalem, akula milsa mashma, it means the whole thing. Ba'alavimoi also when he took the cow and also when the cow died. Nosiv Rabba asked the Kasha, we learned before, Shalo, he borrowed the cow, Vishal Baaleo, and he borrowed the master, Imo, together. Sochar, he rented the cow, V'sochar Baaleo Imo, and he rented the master together. Sochar, he rented the cow, Vishal Baaleo Imo, and he borrowed the master with it. Shalo, he borrowed the cow, V'sochar Baaleo Imo, and he rented the owner with it. Afal Pisha Baalim Oisom Milocha B'mokim Acher, even though that the Baalim are doing a job somewhere else, Umeisa, and the cow died potter because Balavimo, even if the owner is not there. It's a kasha. Ramuna said the owner has to be there. Said the Gemara, my love, the Gemara continues with the kasha, but my love, when it says Afal Pi, when it says Shabayim Moisim Mokim Acher, means B'melocha Acheres. It means that the Bainim in a whole different job, and it says your potter. Says the Gemara, lo, when it says B'mokim Acher, it means Boisa B'melocha. It means the Bainim is at the same job site. So Elomai Mokim Acher, what does it mean? Mokim Acher, we just said at the same job site. The Komarpi Ba'ozil Kameh. It means that, let's say they're taking this cow to plow the field, and the owner's walking in front of the cow to make the field easier for the cow to plow. He goes in front and bangs the ground before he digs a little bit. So when the cow gets there, it's going to be easier for him to dig. So therefore, he's not literally where the cow's doing the melacha. The cow's doing the melacha 5 meters behind. The owner's 5 meters in front. So it's not the same place. And afilu that's what the price is telling you. That he's still part of Bebailim, even though there's not literally where the job's doing his 5. He's at the same job site, but he's at the front. Says the Gemara, no, this can't be. Why not? Vahomi the Sefer, since the Sefer of this price, it says Al Gabo, like we're going to see in a second, it means literally Al Gabo. Aberesha b'melocha acheres. It must be that when it says in the Reisha b'mokim acher, it doesn't mean only in the same melocha b'mokim acher. It means literally in a different melocha. Like why? The Ketoni Sefer Shalo, if he first borrowed the cow, v'achakach shal ba'aleh, and only after he borrowed the cow, he borrowed the master sochor, or he rented the cow. Or he rented the cow and only afterwards he borrowed the owner, he rented the owner. Even though the Bailim now are helping me to plow the field and they're literally on top of the cow, they're riding this cow, and the cow died chayev because he wasn't there when he did Mashiach on the cow, when the Shoel did Mashiach on the cow. So since over there it's coming to tell you Chiddush al Gabo, even literally on top of it, he's still chayev. So it must be when it says b'mokim acher, it means in a total different melacha, and it's still coming to tell you that you're potter. So we have a kasha on Rav Amnuna. So the Gemara, no. Amri reisha v'seifa b'oisa melacha. Really, both means b'oisa melacha. V'reisha rabusa kamash malon. The reisha is telling you a chiddush. V'seifa rabusa kamash malon. The seifa is telling you a chiddush. Reisha Brusa Kamash Malon, the Chiddush and the Reisha is coming to tell you the Afal Gab de Laval Gabo, even though he's not on top of the cow. Eloboy Sumulocha, but he's in the same job site, but he's 5 meters ahead. Kevin the Avu Bailim Bishashaila, since the owner was there when the borrowing happened, Potter, because it's enough to be at the same job site and to be Bishashaila, and you don't need him to be literally riding the cow when it happened. The Sefer Abusha Kamash Malon, and the Sefer is coming to tell you a Chiddush. Even though that when the cow died, it's literally the owner is on top of the cow. Since when he borrowed the cow, the owner wasn't there. You have to pay. That doesn't make any sense. When it says it means that at another job site. The Sefer boys and the Sefer means Al Gabo means at the same job site. So that's a chiddush. The Reisha, even though they another job site is potter, and in the Sefer, even though they're literally on top of it on the same job site is chayev. That they both mean the same melacha, and one just means on top, and one means 5 meters ahead. My Rabusa, what's the big chiddush? They're both talking about when the same job site, big chiddush. One's literally on top of the cow, and one's 5 meters ahead. They're in the same job site. So what's a big chiddush? Havi. So we have a kasha on the shit who holds Rav Amnuna that you have to be at the same job site. Boy Tanya, and I'll bring you another Aryeh from another price. So it says Mimashmach Shonema, from what it says in the Posuk, it sounds like to mean in Ba'alav Imoy that if the master, the owner was with him, Lo Yeshalem, you don't need to pay. Ein Yodea, don't I know, Shein Ba'alav Imoy, that if the owner's not there, Shalem Yishalem, that I need to pay? Obviously, yes, if it says if the owner's there, I don't need to pay, it means if the owner's not there, I do need to pay. What does the Apostle come and repeat itself and say, if the owner's not there, you need to pay? To tell you, if he was with him at the time of the borrowing, so it doesn't need to be there at all, working b'shas when the animal broke or died. But if the owner was with him and b'shas when it broke or died, you do need to be b'shas sheila. That means the most important point that the bailim need to be kedei to be nechshav ba'alav imoy is b'shas sheila, and not b'shas hamelocha. And Rav Nuna says you need to be the whole time, and you need to be working on this job. So it's clearly not like Rav Nuna. And I'm going to bring you another Aryeh from another Bryce. The Bryce says from what it says in the pasuk ba'alav imoy. Mishalim, if the master's not there, you need to pay. Don't I know that if the opposite, if the master is there, lo yishalim, they don't need to pay. Why is the apostle telling you that to tell you that if the master's there, you don't need to pay? We know already from the opposite case that if the owner's not there, you need to pay. Is mashman that the owner is there, you don't need to pay. So the Bryce said, that's enough that one moment when the shoyl did Mashiach on this cow, the bailim were together with it, the bailim were working for him, rented or a favor, and if it died afterwards, potter. Clearly, not like Rav Nuna said the Gemara, Tiyufta, the Rav Nuna, Tiyufta, Bomba Kasha on Rav Nuna. We don't really have an answer because we brought three Bryces that don't fit in, like Rav Amnuna. Shkoyach, thank you very much. Everyone should have a blessed week with lots of happiness, from the situation Klal Yisrael is in, and we should be very happy. And today is 40 days to the Omer, that's 5 weeks and 5 days. We should be very soon. Shkoyach.